Well, welcome along to Glasgow Rangers Nation, guys. Please obviously smash the sub and help the channel to keep on growing. Well, what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk a little bit of Philippe Clement. We're going to talk a little bit of Rangers' recent record. We're going to build up to the semi-final on Sunday, a huge game tomorrow at Hampden Park. Obviously, today it's Aberdeen versus Celtic. Good luck to Aberdeen. That feels so weird to say that. That really does feel just a little bit odd to say. Wish the sheep good luck. It just seems a bit wrong. But you know what? When they're playing that lot, we do wish them all the very best. Of course we do. We're going to talk about a little bit Mo Diamonde. And we're going to talk a little bit how Stephen Naismith has been saying that Rangers are a lucky team and now their luck has run out. We're seeing the real Rangers. Yes, that's right. Naismith says we're lucky. Guys, there's your bulletin board material for Sunday. Stick it on the board in the dressing room. Inspire the players. Well, Philippe Clement has obviously spoken to the media yesterday. And on the video that I released yesterday, I talked about how he was very wrong, in my opinion, to criticise Dujon Sterling for his comments that he made regarding the team and regarding how badly the team are playing at the moment. Now, there's been some interesting articles as regards Philippe Clement. Now, look, I am not someone who is anti-Philippe Clement. I am very pro-Clement. I think he is doing a good job. I think he's done a good job with the resources that he's got. I think that he's got some players that he really does need to replace. I think he's got some players that he needs to, kind of develop. He's got some players that he needs to just kick way out of the club. But, there's been some alarming kind of parallels between his time here in Glasgow and his time in the Principality in Monaco, not Wales, in Monte Carlo. Now, Clement was, of course, manager of Club Brugge. He was manager of Genk, but he spent some time as the manager of Monaco. Now, during his time as Monaco manager, he kind of had a very difficult job there. I think whatever you say about his sacking and the fact that he eventually departed the club has to be sort of placed in the context that a lot of his better players were sold. I mean, that is the Monaco way, to generate income. They do obviously sell some of their better players to some of the top French clubs like Paris Saint-Germain, who obviously dominate the French league, and of course across Europe, in particular, obviously to the EPL, who have a completely bottomless fund. Now, some people have started to draw some comparisons between his time at Monaco and his time at Rangers. Now, people have drawn these conclusions because obviously it is a situation where he is outside of his domestic league. He is a Belgian. He has had his most success in Belgium. Obviously, all the trophies that he's won have come with Club Brugge and Genk in his native country. They've not come outside of that country. And that's why there's kind of been some parallels kind of, sort of linked between his time at Monaco and his time now at Rangers. Now, Rangers' end of season form has really taken a noticeable nosedive. If you look at the recent form of Rangers over the last 5 league games, it has been very, very poor. A 2-1 defeat at home to Motherwell, which is obviously quite unthinkable. To allow anyone to come to Ibrox and win is is unforgivable, really. Ibrox should be a fortress. Ibrox should be somewhere that teams fear coming. A 3-1 home victory against Hibs, well, that's fair enough. A 3-3 with Celtic, which was a game of 2 halves, as we know, and we've obviously done Celtic to death. We haven't, we've done the game to death anyway. Ross County 3, Rangers 2 was an absolute, Travis was absolute, nightmare in Dingwall, and then a real kind of snooze fest on Tayside with a 0-0 draw against Rangers. So against Dundee, only 1 win in the last 5 is absolutely awful, and failing to win in the last 3. Which is just absolutely shocking from Rangers. It really has been a culmination of a disappointing series of results. Now, people have drawn parallels with the end of his time at Monaco with his present form at Rangers. Yes, everyone is very disappointed, I think, with how things are going, but we've got to kind of get this into some perspective. I don't think Clement has had a chance to obviously form his team. Clement needs an opportunity to really kind of, build a team that he wants, to build the players that he wants. I think that he does need to be brave. He does need to be ruthless. There is a lot of dead wood at this club that does need to be cleared out. The likes of James Tavernier, Connor Goldson, John Lundstrom, I think really do need to be cleared away. And a new fresh breath, a new fresh voice needs to be heard. Not just from the manager, but also from the players within the dressing room. And I think there's a famous saying, isn't there, that one bad apple can sort of, poison the barrel. Well, you know what, 3 bad apples can do even more damage to this team. Now, Philippe Clement was obviously Monaco manager for a little bit, and during his last season at Monaco, he suffered a late season collapse despite having his Monaco team in contention near the end. Now, a 3-1 victory against Lorient in April actually put during his time with the Monegasques, put Monaco up to 3rd place in Ligue 1 and in place to qualify for the Champions League and to challenge Paris Saint-Germain. However, as the season drew to an end, with the league challenge there, with the ability to challenge for a Champions League place there, Monaco fell apart. They kind of came apart, and Clement could do nothing to arrest that slide. They won just one of their last 7 games and actually lost 5 of those 7, which is a pretty appalling record. In fact, Philippe Clement's Monaco managed only 1 win, and that was against Angers. They drew at home to Lille, lost to Lens, Montpellier, Lyon, Rennes, and Toulouse. And it saw Monaco drop from being contenders in 3rd to 6th place and missed out on the Europa League and the Europa Conference League. The last game of the season was a 2-1 defeat to Toulouse. And it was after that game that the then Monaco sports director, the very highly rated Paul Mitchell, announced the following. He said, "It's a difficult decision to take because Philippe has always given the best of himself and has always acted in a professional way. On behalf of the club, I want to thank him for all of his efforts," as they sacked him. So, it's interesting, isn't it, that there seems to be a kind of correlation drawn between Monaco's collapse at the end of the season and Philippe Clement's now collapse at Rangers. Certainly, it's to be hoped that he can arrest that slide on Sunday and turn things around. And certainly over the last 5 games of this post-split, turn it around as well and hopefully finish with 5 victories, which would still give us an opportunity to win the title if we could obviously go to Parkhead and get something. Now, obviously, one piece of good news going into Sunday's game is the return of Mohamed Diomande. Now, Diomande, I think, is certainly a player that we have missed over recent weeks. He is quality. He is, a good young player, and certainly someone who was brought in January. Now, I know some fans have cast a few doubts on Diomande and his ability, but Diomande has really, I think, proved himself and shown himself to be a quality addition to this team over his short time. So, I mean, I know that he's had the odd duff game, but look, he's still settling into a different country. He is still, finding his way in the game. His stats for this season are not that bad for a player who has just joined the club. In his limited time with Rangers, Diomande has made 8 appearances in the league, scoring 2 goals for Rangers. Add to that as well his 2 appearances, 1 assist in the Europa League, also his appearances in the Scottish Cup as well. He's done a decent job. He's proved himself to be a quality player, and certainly someone I think has got a big future in the game. It's not just those goals and assists that Diomande brings. And obviously, Diomande has missed the last few games with that thumb injury that has caused a lot of debate amongst Rangers fans over his desire to play if he's only got a thumb injury. But I think we kind of underestimate the effect that injuries can have on players. But Diomande certainly does something that that has been very much missing over the last few games. He gives legs in midfield, which he gives a bit of impetus, a bit of speed to the midfield, and does some of the running that John Lundstrom has struggled to do over the last few games. Lundstrom is not getting any younger, is he? And certainly having someone alongside him like Mo Diomande, who will do a lot of the running for him, is very advantageous. Add to that his ability to play a pass forward, which has been missing again over recent games. There's been a lot of I heard on one podcast it called "Pissing About at the Back." I think that was Club 22, which is a brilliant podcast. he provides forward impetus. He finds space. He can generate space for himself. He passes between the lines. He gets a bit of speed going forward. He certainly is a quality player. And I certainly think having Mohamed Diomande back on Sunday will really add to Rangers' options and really help us to try and get rest of control of the midfield. I think one of the things we've really suffered from in the Ross County game and the Dundee game is that we've been overrunning midfield. I mean, Luke McCowan, the Dundee player, certainly bossed our midfield on Wednesday night, and I think having someone like Diomande in there alongside whoever it is, whether it's Sterling or Lundstrom, really does bring some extra talent and extra ability to control that midfield. So it's great news that he is back. Obviously, worrying news that Ridvan is still out. I would love to have Ridvan back. I do think that Ridvan has been a huge miss over the last few games. The width he provides on the left, his overlapping ability, his ability to link with a left winger, his defensive talent on top of that, he certainly is a huge miss for the club. Now, I said earlier in the video that we get to the fact that Stephen Naismith has been saying that Rangers' luck has run out, and that kind of explains why we are where we are. This is what Naismith had to say. Now, Naismith has been obviously talking ahead of the semi-final. He talks about Hearts, he talks about Rangers. It's interesting, isn't it, that it is such a focus of his to talk about our club. Naismith said, in response to the question, he says, "Surprised, I'm not sure. There are some players who have been there over the years and have failed to win trophies," talking about Rangers players. "From my experiences, it's a tough club, tough environment for any player. Personally, though, when you win trophies, it feels great. Doing it is the hard part." Now, look, I don't like Stephen Naismith particularly. I think that sometimes that he is some of his opinions and some of the things that he says and does are ridiculous. But, he's right that there is a lot of players that have been at this club for an awful long time and have not won many trophies, or who have not won trophies. Or, as you said, 3 trophies in 12 years really is not good enough. Rangers is a tough club to play at. That's correct. It's a tough environment. Ibrox, can turn very quickly. So he is right from that aspect. Now, he talked a little bit about Hearts here. He says, for us, that's what we want to focus on. We want to go there where we know we're a really good team. We've made some good strides this season, and we've got the right opportunity to pick up this trophy next to me. He was talking because obviously the Scottish Cup was there next to him at the point. He said, "I don't think it's something that's happened overnight. When we got beat 2-1 at Ibrox for 90 minutes, we were winning. What we'd done in that was good." And I think he's right. I mean, I don't want to kind of, belittle what Rangers did that night, but Naismith is right. They were playing well up to that point, and they had played well, and the Lawrence Shankland goal had obviously given them a lead. We caused them problems. They certainly did cause us problems. Obviously, the late Tav penalty and the excellent header from Danilo getting us the win. Look, I'm not going to talk down Hearts. I think that's disrespectful. I think, we've got to make sure that we are always respectful of our opponents. That is one thing that stands us apart from that lot across the city. Hearts have had a good season. They've got some good players, in particular, obviously, Lawrence Shankland, who has been outstanding this season. And look, as much as I hate Stephen Naismith and don't like his attitude and don't like some of the things that he says, he has done a very good job this season. And Hearts are, are secure in third in the SPL. They've played exceptionally well. Their form is very good going into this game. They play some good football. They are obviously a very talented team, and we've got to give them credit for that. So, it is not going to be a game that is going to be a walkover. I know, yes, last time we beat them 5-0, but I can't see a repeat of that. They're going to be bang up for this and really going for it. It's the second time we've met them in a semi-final, obviously beating them in the League Cup. Naismith went on to say, he says, in their run of games, they've carried a bit of luck as well. At times, they've won that game, for instance, and a couple of others, obviously referencing the Hearts game, referencing the fact that obviously they got that penalty, which, he still insists is a dubious penalty, and that late header from Danilo. He says, they're a team that plays a certain way. Like with every team, their style might not change, but if the personnel isn't right, then the way the game plays out can be slightly different. So you take everything into consideration. I think that's a decent point by Naismith, if I'm being honest. Like I said, as much as I don't like the guy, the fact that he talks about the fact that the personnel aren't right, it doesn't work. And I think we've seen that over recent weeks, that some of the players haven't performed to their standards, haven't really suited the jobs they've been asked to do. Lawrence has been poor, Goldson's been poor, Tav's been poor. There's been some awful performances, and it's certainly hasn't really kind of fitted the way that Clement wants to play. So I think that kind of is right in what Naismith says there. Ultimately, it's an opportunity for two teams wanting to get to a final, we're in a good position. The last two results were good. We're going into it in full of form, and they are going into it in decent form, and they are going to give it a go. And our form's not great, and we've got to turn it around. We've got to play, a really intense style. We've got to play from minute one. We've got to play with an intensity and a passion and a heart, and it's really is down to these players now to show that they actually want to be here. They actually want to win things this season, and they have the bottle to actually do this and prove some of their doubters wrong. Whether they'll do that, who knows? But it's down to the players on the day. Well, obviously here on Glasgow Rangers Nation, we'll continue to build up to the semi-final. We'll bring you match day news tomorrow. Guys, thank you so much for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. As always, if you can smash the sub, that would be utterly phenomenal. The two jobs I always ask you on the way out is, number one, to smash the like, and number two, to always remember we are the people.